Today we're going to talk about Chapter 6 in WCLA, Quality Control Principles. When you think of quality, what comes to mind? Are there any logos that you really associate with quality? What about Sears, Ford, Caterpillar, Sony, Honda, Mitsubishi? What about Mercedes, Cadillac, Carhartt, Florsheim, Kia, made in Japan? Surprise, made in Japan today is very well respected quality thought. Wasn't always so. When I was very young, made in Japan meant it is junk. It was a real cheaply made stuff, wasn't expected to last very long, and you replaced it often, or you didn't spend a lot of money on it, and you didn't have high expectations of it. Kia might be quality today, but they started off with a bad hiccup. Their initial vehicles were poor quality, didn't last long, and they have spent a lot of time, money, and effort to overcome that initial reputation. Toyota is noted as a good quality. Ford, you ever hear the term found on road dead, fixed or repair daily? That was a well-deserved reputation, but it has changed. Ford has changed their ideas about quality. And I'm going to not speak so much about what's in the textbook, because you're going to read all of those, and those terms are very much integrated into your certification exam. I'm going to talk to you about just quality in general. And this goes back, I'll start my story back around World War II. Okay? In World War II, we were fighting the Germans and the Japanese. At the end of World War II, Japan's country was decimated. Their military was defeated. Much of their country and infrastructure was destroyed. And our president, Mr. Harry Truman, was presiding over a rebuilding of Japan, a reconstruction. Okay? And I'm going to introduce a term to you, Kaizen. It's a Japanese word for improvement or change for the better. So the American forces were brought in American exports to help with the rebuilding of Japan. One of the prominent figures was Mr. Edwards Deming, I'm sorry. And he was instrumental in applying some statistical control methods. There was a group called the Economic and Scientific Section, which was tasked with improving the Japanese management skills. And they brought in a couple of guys, a man named Mr. Edgar McVoy and also a Mr. Lowell Mellon. And they had a program called Training Within Industry. It was called TWI. And they also had another program, it's called the TWIJ, which was for job instruction, job methods, and job relations. They even made a film about it. And part of the title was Kaizen Ino Yon Dankai. I think that's what it said. So the word Kaizen means continuous improvement. It's any improvement, whether it's one time or continuous, large or small, is just simply improvement. Kaizen is a daily process, the purpose of which goes beyond simple productivity improvement. It's also a process that, when done correctly, humanizes the workplace. It eliminates overly hard work and teaches people how to perform experiments on their work using a scientific method, and how to learn to spot and eliminate waste in the business process. And all the process suggests a humanized approach to workers and increasing productivity. The idea is to nurture the company's human resources as much as it can to praise and encourage participation in Kaizen activities. Such implementation requires the participation of workers in the improvement. People at all levels of the organization have to participate in the Kaizen, everyone from the CEO to the janitorial staff, as well as external stakeholders whenever that's applicable. The format for Kaizen can be individual, it can be a suggestion system, it can be small group, it can be a large group. At Toyota, it's usually a local improvement within a workstation or a local area group that involves their own work environment and their productivity. This group is often guided through the Kaizen process by a line supervisor. Sometimes that supervisor has the key role. Why do we worry about quality? It's a lot cheaper to do it right the first time. Customer-driven ideas and principles, they want the best quality at the lowest possible price. And quality is very important. And manufacturers or producers of any goods, if they ignore this, they are falling behind. They will be overtaken eventually by a competitor, or their customers will just simply abandon them. But they are always expecting better. Look at the electronics industry over the years. Electronics has evolved. Every 18 months we see a doubling in capacities and speeds, and it's exponential, the growth in just the electronics field in the last 20 years. Quality has driven this, and we are benefactors of that state of good quality. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Toyota story. Okay, my early younger years contact with Toyota was that, okay, it's foreign made, wasn't that impressed with it. But when we stop and think about it, back in the 80s, the #1 and the #2 stolen vehicles in the United States was the Toyota Camry and the Toyota Corolla. Why is this? Body shops could not get enough of them because the Toyotas were going hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles and they needed the parts. Where Ford and General Motors and Chrysler, and I think American Motors also back then, didn't much care as much about quality. And Americans started realizing that a Toyota Camry was a very good buy. It held its resale value. It was a fine vehicle. It held up very well, and it ended up being a good value, especially when you go to resale. So the Toyota quality is a long-standing story, and the people at Toyota have long used this process of Kaizen, of constant improvement. And shame on Ford when they finally woke up one day and decided quality is important, because they were losing market share every year. Their market share was shrinking, and it was shrinking to their foreign competitors, not just Toyota, but Mercedes. Just everything in the American economy was going to the better quality brand names like Sony, Mitsubishi. Did you know Mitsubishi made the Japanese Zero fighter plane that wreaked so much havoc in the United States for World War II? Now this company is making electronics and automobiles and doing very well in the American economy. Another company is Honda. Honda vehicles, Honda sports vehicles, four-wheelers, jet skis, motorcycles. You see them all over. They're very well known as a quality product. And it's been the idea and attitude of improving at every step of the process. And a long story short, if you ignore quality, you will be surpassed. So quality is very important. Thank you.